The girl is clearly a dignified young lady in everyone's eyes, but when she met him, her teacher for the first time, she asked the teacher to help clean her feet, but the teacher not only didn't do as she said, but even slapped her directly. It turns out before Derek came here, he had already received permission from Diela's father to treat her, as he pleased, but the reason Derek obtained such rights actually stemmed from his status as a beggar. It turns out Derek is a transmigrator, but only after transmigrating did he find out that he was actually just a beggar. Even the mentor who taught him magic was just an old beggar who liked to brag. The old man wasn't some disguised powerhouse from fiction. He was just an ordinary OnStar mage. The old beggar needed someone to flatter him, and Derek wanted to learn magic. So the two of them hit it off immediately. But within a year, Derek reached the realm that the old man spent his whole life trying to reach. But instead of encouraging Derek, the old man started to crush his confidence. With your talent, you can only reach 2 stars at most. Magic relies on lineage. No matter how much you struggle, it's useless. It turns out, magic in this world is a privilege of the nobility. Many nobles can reach the realm of a 3-star mage before coming of age. That night was exceptionally long, and Derek didn't know whether the old man was warning him or venting his own dissatisfaction. But the next day, Derek saw the old man's corpse. He didn't know where it was, beaten and covered in bruises. At first, Derek thought the old man had gotten into a dispute with someone and was beaten like this. But he later found out the old man was beaten by the guards because he was caught stealing a 12-star magic book from the warehouse. No one knows why an old beggar destined never to become a 12-star mage would risk his life to do such a thing. The old beggar. 4 years after his death, Derek met his second magic mentor. Katya was the mistress of the fallen Flamheart family, a 3-star mage working as a mercenary. At first, she just gave guidance to Derek, who joined the mercenary group at a young age and could use some OnStar magic. Katya taught Derek a lot of things. In addition to magic, there were also many matters regarding how to conduct oneself. But what really made Katya change her mind started with an accident. The day Derek showed his talent, Katya did not hesitate at all and took him to an empty alley. You know, nobles are very sensitive about their privileges, and magic is the greatest privilege of all. Powerful strength, although considered a blessing, is limited only to the nobility. Among commoners, although 3 stars occasionally appear, they are only reached by commoners who spend their entire lives studying magic. And what you just used was a 12-star confusion-type magic called auditory hallucination. Since then, Katya took Derek traveling around, teaching him various magics, and occasionally telling him about the social circles she was in when she was a noble. After this kind of life lasted for a year, Katya left the Count of Elbest, hired Katya to be a private tutor. That count is a border lord whom even the Grand Duke of the capital cannot easily offend. So for Katya, this was an offer she couldn't refuse. To become the magic teacher of such a noble, for anyone, would be a huge blessing just like that. After leaving behind 12-star magic spells, Katya disappeared from Derek's life, who then self-taught himself 2 more 12-star magics. Later, Derek was only 16 years old that year, and he did not intend to stop there. It was on that very day that Derek received a commission that would change his destiny. It turned out that the spendthrift Grand Duke Duprain had issued a commission to subjugate magical beasts on the outskirts of the territory. However, the sharp Derek immediately noticed a problem. Why a family like Duprain would commission mercenaries to deal with magical beasts? Considering the warnings the old beggar and Katya had given him previously, Derek directly rejected this commission. But the Duprain family simply offered too much. Just the deposit alone was a whole gold coin. Even the targets of the subjugation were just some extremely ordinary goblins. The truth was just as Derek had thought. This commission was nothing but a cover. Their true purpose for this trip was to find a magic teacher for the young lady of Duke Duprain's family. And the 3 people who appeared earlier, their identities were not simple either. The old man was named Delon, the head butler of the Duprain mansion. The woman was a maid of the mansion, head maid named Catalina. And the last person was named Etheline Eleanor Duprain, the eldest daughter of the Duprain family. Although Derek accepted this lucrative commission, he still did not let his guard down in his heart, because nobles like them had absolutely no reason to look for a mercenary to be a teacher. Meanwhile, Reg broke into Duke Duprain's study. Father, brother Valerian, look at this, Reg. What are you doing? Haven't I taught you to maintain your grace at all times? The one who needs to maintain grace is not me, but Durla. He has already started laying hands on the servants in the mansion. Keep it down, Reg. Father is talking with me right now. Just last month, more than 10 servants resigned because they couldn't take it anymore, and he smashes furniture at the slightest provocation. Just how much longer are you going to indulge that scoundrel, Father Reg? Hearing Reg say this, his sister Valerian could no longer hold back enough. You go out first. I still need to talk to Father. Father, Durla is a troublemaker, which is already an indisputable fact. Moreover, we still have Etheline, don't we? I think we should just about give up on Durla. Listen to me, Reg. This kind of matter is not for you to judge. I have already sent the butler to inquire at the monastery. The facilities there are very good, and there are also many children of nobles. Rather than letting him become our burden, it is better to submit to God's will. If we leave a guy like this alone, he will sooner or later become a disaster for our family. However, the moment Reg finished speaking, Duke Duprain grabbed his head and slammed it hard against the table. I have already said it once. This kind of matter is not for you to judge. The one who should make the judgment must be decisive. Father. On the other side, Etheline had already led Derek into the Duke's mansion. Have you heard anything about my sister Durla? I have only seen on the Duprain family tree. Seen Miss Durla? I see. Probably. She isn't very prominent in the eyes of outsiders. It was at this moment that the two ran into Valerian and Reg coming out of the Duke's room. Long time no see. Have you been doing well in Elbest, Etheline? Thank you for your concern, brother. I've been doing very well there. That's good. As you can see, Reg got a bit hurt. As for catching up, let's talk about it later. From the expressions of the two, one could tell there must have been a dispute in the Duke's mansion. After seeing the maid crying behind them with dizzy eyes, Derek had a general guess in his heart. Subsequently, the two entered Duke Duplain's study. Iselin, as usual, had a brief catch-up with her father. This is the magic teacher I brought back from Elbest. He said he is willing to teach Durla. But looking at the Archduke's expression, it was clear he didn't take it to heart. Father, you must be very busy. Then I will take my leave first. However, just as she was about to leave, the Archduke asked Derek to stay here alone. You look very young. Are you 16 this year? Yes. With what Kadia had taught him before, Derek did not act rashly. What level of magic can you roughly use? I can use a bit of alien magic. Stop lying. Excessive modesty is not a virtue. Only then did Derek realize that in front of the five-element magician Archduke Duplain, modesty would not work. If I have been impolite, I apologize to you. It's fine. I know why you did that. But, in my opinion, whether it's age or medical advice, you don't seem like someone suitable to be a magic teacher. Seeing this, Derek could no longer hide it. I am a mercenary. Since you are the teacher Iselin chose, I have nothing more to say. I allow you to enter and leave the villa where Durla lives. I will send another maid to lead the way for you. You may leave now. Excuse me. May I ask you some questions? Go ahead. After obtaining the Archduke's approval, Derek finally spoke. As you know, I am a mercenary. Once commissioned, I must complete it. The commission Miss Iselin gave me is to help Miss Durla learn magic and make her a member of aristocratic society. The questions you want to ask, could they be about these matters? Of course. Therefore, in order to better complete this commission, I hope, Archduke, that you can grant me certain authority. The moment he heard these words, the expression on Archduke Duplain's face finally changed on the other side. Durla threw a plate at the maid nearby once again. I am terribly sorry, Miss Durla. What's the use of an apology from someone like you? Get out of my sight right now. If I see you again next time, I will throw it directly at your lowly face. Meanwhile, the president of the Mercenary Guild was also very curious as to why a commoner was allowed to serve as a noble's magic teacher. I have searched all over the continent for famous magic teachers, but everyone gave up. I was also at my wit's end, which is why I made this decision. Although Mr. Derek comes from a mercenary background, he has a certain understanding of noble behavior and culture. His teacher was a fallen noble. He probably learned those things from that person. I see, although Mr. Derek is a mercenary, he has an extraordinary temperament, and he is also very kind. So I think Mr. Derek might be able to guide Durla well. Miss Iselin, your judgment of people seems to still be lacking. That guy Derek is a magician who grew up in the slums, and he started working as a mercenary before he even knew any better. A guy from such a slum background. How could he have grown up with temperament and kindness on the other side? Derek, led by Delon, came to the villa where Durla was. After knocking on the door several times without receiving a response, Derek opened the door to Durla's room. Hello. I am Derek. Sorry to bother you. However, Durla did not respond to Derek's greeting, only keeping on telling him to get closer to her. At the moment Derek approached, a triumphant smile appeared on the corner of Diala's mouth. Afterwards, she poured a large bucket of dirty water on the ground all over Derek's face. What should I do about this? I thought a rat had gotten in. Isn't this the mercenary the butler mentioned? Looking closely, he really looks like a rat. I prepared this specially for you. Does it remind you of your hometown? The smell of the sewer really suits you. But this is such a pity. The gift I prepared specially for you has actually spilled all over the floor. Hearing these humiliating words, Derek just stared intently at Diala in front of him. By doing so, it actually made Diala feel a bit uncomfortable. Without the slightest hesitation, Diala kicked Derek to the ground. Don't you dare stare at me like that. Because she kicked Derek, Diala even took off the shoe of that foot. Don't overrate yourself. You smelly rat, who do you think you are trying to teach me? Didn't those commoners teach you some common sense? Meanwhile, Grand Duke Duplain fell into deep thought because of the conversation just now. Because that mercenary-born Derek had brought him too much of a shock. The fact that I can sit here shows that Miss Diala's problem is not easy to solve. So I want to ask the Grand Duke, who deeply loves Miss Diala, a question. When I am teaching Miss Diala, Grand Duke, how much authority can you give me? The scene returns to Derek's side. He gave Diala a resounding slap. Without a doubt, Diala had never thought that anyone would dare to treat her like this. She stared at Derek in front of her in disbelief, the burning sensation on her face, telling her that she was indeed beaten by the person in front of her. At this moment, Derek finally spoke. Stand up for me. It turns out that as early as 3 years ago, Derek had asked Kadia a question. Teacher, if you encountered an arrogant and ungrateful student, what would you do? Well, I would definitely try my best to understand and tolerate them. Isn't that a bit too idealistic? What if none of this works? The essence of teaching is to guide students to develop in a better direction. If communication cannot be achieved through understanding and tolerance, then another method must be used. What is that other method? Plant fear in their mind. Time returns to the present. Diala still couldn't believe that she was beaten by a mercenary. Please treat others with care and respect some things. I don't want to say a second time, stand up. But the first thing Diala did when she stood up was to kill Derek Eater. What do you think you are? What are you acting tough for? You're just a mercenary. But before Diala could finish her sentence, Derek's slap had already landed the same words. I don't want to say a second time. Please treat others with care and respect. Seeing that Derek was so bold, Diala actually laughed out of anger. Butler, what are you doing? This lowly fellow actually dared to hit me. Hearing Diala's call, Delon rushed in immediately. Miss Diala, are you okay? What are you doing? How could you lay a hand on the young lady? If the Grand Duke finds out. However, before Delon could finish his sentence, Derek pulled out a document from his coat. Grand Duke Duplain has already decided that everything that happens during Diala's education will be solely my responsibility. So no matter what method I use, it is tacitly approved by the Grand Duke. Seeing the document with the Grand Duke's name written on it, Delon was also in a bit of a dilemma for a moment. Dirla also realized at this moment that the teacher in front of her was not that easy to deal with. Not long after, the news of Derek laying hands on Dirla reached Valerian. Brother, calm down first. Are you that mercenary? Valerian said, pushing open the door to Derek's room. Seeing the aggressive Valerian in front of him, Derek did not make any excuses. You bastard, how dare you lay hands on Dirla? Brother, calm down just at this moment. Derek spoke. I have already obtained Grand Duke Dukelin's permission. He is a guest, brought back by Aislinn. What do you expect Aislinn to do if you act like this? Besides, father also allowed him to do so. You come with me right now and Reg, don't get in my way anymore. Go, do what you are supposed to do. I heard about that matter as well. Dirla indeed needs to be beaten a bit. To learn some sense, don't worry. Brother, he won't hurt you. That fellow has long been hopeless. Don't expect to correct him not long after. Valerian brought Derek to Dirla's room. This was Dirla's room when she lived in the main house. It is currently left vacant. Derek discovered that apart from the dolls that girls like, there were also many drawings. Dirla really liked to draw. Every time she blushed and dragged me to look at her drawings. I can't tell you how cute she looked. But her drawings were never finished. Most of them, after she finished drawing, the parts she liked, she just stopped. I'm sorry. I was too emotional just now. I apologize to you again. I didn't take it to heart, so there's no need to worry. However, I am a bit curious. Why did you bring me to this room? I wanted you to see that Dirla shouldn't be the kind of child who tramples on others at will. But I don't know when it started. She suddenly became obsessed with bloodlines and finally, she was kicked out of the main house and confined to the villa. I have absolutely no idea what turned her into this. At least we can't let Dirla be sent to the monastery. As long as she learns one alien magic, I can find a way to convince father. So please, I beg you to save Dirla. Seeing Valerian, who lowered his stance to beg him, Derek just waved his hand. She doesn't seem to have completely given up on magic. There are many notes she wrote in this book. The books here should all be theoretical books of the order. Sect, right? Yes. What we nobles study is the order sect. Seeing those words in front of him, a conjecture arose in Derek's mind. I will try my best, Derek said, handing the book in his hand to Valerian. On this night, while Dirla was still fast asleep in her room, someone poured a bucket of water directly over her head, and that person was none other than Derek. Can you still sleep now? What are you saying? Are you crazy, you bastard? Come with me right now. Are you crazy? It's the middle of the night. Where are you taking me? But along the way, no matter how Dirla screamed, no one dared to stop Derek. Derek just grabbed Dirla like this, and dragged her out of the villa. After making sure there was no one around, Derek threw Dirla onto the ground. Do you think this will change anything? Stop dreaming. Who do you think you are? You are not worthy of teaching this young lady, since there is no one around anymore. How about I tell you an interesting truth, actually? I never intended to teach you magic from the beginning. I just simply enjoy abusing you high and mighty nobles. Seeing the expression on Derek's face, Dirla was terrified. Don't you think? Why should a lowly commoner like nobles, a teacher, or whatever, is just a nice title? What on earth are you talking about? I had no intention of being a magic teacher at all. I just needed a suitable identity to abuse a high and mighty noble like you. Do you know those high and mighty nobles? How sweet their screams of agony are. Do you think that after doing this sort of thing, you can still get away with it safely? Of course I will be safe. Anyway, you will soon be thrown into the monastery. Do you think anyone will still believe what you say? And even if something really happens, at worst it'll just die. Trading a commoner's life for a noble's life, no matter how you think about it, it's not a loss. Besides, if I just run away directly, maybe nothing will happen at all. After all, I can be considered to have solved the trouble for the Dupre family. At that moment, Dirla realized that if he were caught by Derek, he might really die here. If Dirla escaped from here back to the villa, he would very likely be dragged out again by Derek. So, Dirla decided to shake him off in the woods he was familiar with. If Dirla could escape from the woods to the Grand Duke's mansion, then the one who would die would definitely be Derek. But just at this moment Dirla felt a bright light appear behind him, and only then did he realize Derek had actually used the Twa-Star magic fireball. This meant that the 16-year-old mercenary in front of him was at least a Twa-Star magician. When the fireball exploded in front of Dirla, he collapsed to the ground in terror, and at that moment, Dirla truly felt that he was not far from death. How did this happen? I'm sorry. I actually missed just now. After standing up again, Dirla hurriedly ran towards the woods, but because he kept watching Derek's movements, Dirla accidentally tripped and fell. By the time he got back up, Derek's magic attack had already arrived, and these attacks seemed to be getting closer and closer to Dirla. Your movements are indeed agile, not at all like someone who has been locked up in a villa from morning till night. Taking advantage of the gap while Derek was speaking, Dirla found another opportunity to escape. He knew very well in his heart that running away forever was not a solution, and if this continued, he would be caught sooner or later. When Dirla looked back, he found that Derek's attention seemed to be focused on that magic at the moment. Only when Derek looked up did he realize that Dirla's figure had actually disappeared. However, the woods in front of him were exactly what Derek had seen in the paintings. He guessed that Dirla must have played here since childhood, and those things in Dirla's paintings were actually the magic power he sensed. After just sensing the surrounding magic power with magic, Derek was even more convinced that the guess at that time was correct. However, it was also at this moment that Dirla jumped out of the bushes holding a stone. Unfortunately, Derek just casually swung his sword and cut down his last hope. Your courage is commendable, knowing that it's hard to shake off the pursuit, so you chose to take the initiative to attack. It's not easy to make such a decision, due to the double torture of mind and body. Dirla now has no energy left to run, it seems. You can't run away anymore. Is there anything else you want to say? Derek said as he approached Dirla step by step. Do you really think I will apologize to you? Just kill me. I won't bow and scrape like those commoners. Why are you so obsessed with bloodline? The moment she heard these words, Dirla's body shook violently. Other than this, what do I have left? Other than this noble bloodline, do I have anything else? Magic, magic? Everyone is talking to me about magic. Did I not try hard, but I just can't do it no matter how desperately I try. Effort is still not enough. What can I do? Whether it's magic or painting, I am worse than everyone else, other than this bloodline. What else do I have left? If even this is gone, what am I? I understand. Then go in peace. After Derek finished speaking, he raised the sword in his hand. This time Dirla did not run away, but stared straight into Derek's eyes. However, surprisingly, Derek's sword was actually blocked by an ice wall. Seeing this scene before her, Diela could hardly believe her eyes. It turned out that the one who released the ice walls was none other than herself, who had never been able to learn magic. Diela really could not believe that she had actually used magic under such circumstances. Good work, my lady. I hope you can forgive my rude behavior. Although this cannot yet be considered magic, only that your mana was triggered, but you have already done very well at that moment. For a long time, the emotions pent up in Diela's heart were finally all released, according to my verification. You should belong to the wild school. What is the wild school? I heard most nobles study the regular school, but all schools are essentially the same. Only the process of comprehension and learning is different. Miss Diela is of the wild school, which is why you had problems when learning magic with regular school theories. But how did you know I was of the wild school? About this, I have seen the paintings you drew, my lady. You sensed mana in nature, and expressed it on the canvas. There are mages predisposed to the wild school, most of whom in their childhood sensed mana from nature. Well, you may leave now if it's only to this extent. It seems not bad, although you successfully awakened mana, but the road ahead is still long starting tomorrow. I will teach you how to trigger your mana. Just then Diela called out to Derek, that is, anyway, thank you, that painting of sunset. Is it your masterpiece? Which one? It was very well done. That indeed is my masterpiece. You are the first person to realize it was a finished piece. Early the next morning, Diela began trying to trigger her mana, but no matter how she tried, there was still no progress. While she was going to find Derek, she accidentally startled a passing maid. As luck would have it, the maid's water spilled onto her skirt. At that moment, the maid was scared to death. I am so sorry, Miss Diela. After all, given Diela's past style, this situation would almost certainly lead to torture. I'm sorry. I have committed a capital offense. Please forgive me this once. However, to the maid's surprise, Diela actually did not get angry. Be careful. She really could not believe that Diela had just left after saying such a casual remark, and left like that. Are you okay? You didn't get beaten up, right? I'm fine. It seems something happened when going out last night. On the other side, Derek, who had been busy all night, was still fast asleep, but in the next second, Diela's voice came along with the knocking on the door. Coming here so early, is there something wrong? My lady, please observe etiquette. You are making things difficult for others like this. Teach me how to control the awakened magic. I just tried it myself, but still couldn't do it. Hearing this, Delon was stunned. He couldn't believe it. Derek has only been here for one day, and he already got Diela to awaken her magic. Didn't you say you would teach me today? Tell me quickly. Come back in the afternoon. After Derek finished speaking, he closed the door. While Delon was still feeling happy for Diela, Diela's expression was already very off. Who do you think you are? How dare you order me around? Open the door quickly. Tell me right now. However, Derek did not respond to Diela, but just went straight to sleep. Delon taught the girl. She was originally a notorious spoiled brat in the family, but the boy used only one day to make her obedient and sensible. Noble lady, have you heard? Lady Diela didn't smash a single plate today. I accidentally spilled water on her skirt this morning, and I didn't get beaten up either. And I heard Lady Diela has successfully awakened her magic. Is that true? Didn't that teacher just arrive yesterday? Hearing this, Reg was stunned. What were you just saying? Not long after, Valerian told the Grand Duke about this, and Reg Diela awakened her magic. Yes, father. I have confirmed it with the butler and servants countless times. Grand Duke Duplain rarely stopped his pen. That's wonderful. However, it's just awakening magic. Father, you shouldn't jump to conclusions so early, Reg. After your sister awakened her magic, even if you don't praise her, how can you say such things? Have you forgotten what she has been doing all this time? Just because of this little achievement, canceling the plan to send her to the monastery. This is far too hasty. While the two children were arguing over Diela, the Grand Duke just silently picked up his pen and began reviewing documents. Time quickly passed to the afternoon. When Derek came to Diela's room, she was sitting on the bed alone. Are you throwing a tantrum? I'm not throwing a tantrum. I'm angry. Even if you throw a tantrum, it won't help. I said I'm angry. Whether you are angry or throwing a tantrum, there's nothing that can be done. After all, everything has its order of priority. At this moment, Diela finally couldn't take it anymore. I already said, I'm not throwing a tantrum. I'm angry. But when Diela turned around, she happened to lock eyes with Derek's crimson pupils. She subconsciously turned back around. Just assume him throwing a tantrum then. If, because you awakened your magic, you start messing around blindly, you will soon collapse from exhaustion. This is speaking from my own experience. Study must be balanced with rest. Since you have rested enough, let's start studying now. Yes, yes, yes. What a rigid magic teacher. Don't tell me. You want me to teach you in a non-rigid way. In that instant, Diela thought of her experiences of awakening magic. That was indeed a novel way of teaching. But the process, thinking of this, Diela quickly sat down. Forget about it. Today we learn how to channel magic. Wait. Once you can freely channel magic, you should be able to learn on-mind magic right away. We, the Wild Faction, have not formed a complete learning system, so it is the school best suited for self-study. And compared to the regular faction, we pursue freedom more. To be honest, miss, you really are suited for the Wild Faction. What does that mean? Literally, miss, your free-spirited personality has great compatibility with the Wild Faction. And you also have the Dupline bloodline. Your talent is even more extraordinary. The moment she heard these words, Dirla seemed like a changed person. Are you saying I am very talented? Yes. Erecting an ice wall while awakening magic, it can be said. You are very talented if you put it that way. Then, I'm a genius. Being talented and being a genius are two different things. Isn't it the same? They are separate matters. Fine, you're right about everything. While the two were learning to channel magic, they didn't seem to notice Leg standing outside the window. Judging by his expression, he was very displeased about Dirla awakening her magic. During the following period of time, Dirla would go find Derek every day. Derek, I can already channel magic, but I still can't control the direction. Derek, look quickly. Cold air is starting to appear in my hands, but I always feel it strange. Derek, listen to me. I sense the magic, but this feeling is so strange. Derek, I've been looking for you all day. What are you doing here? Didn't I tell you to stay near the villa? Do you think father lent you the magic book? Just for you to learn magic? Yes. The Grand Duke agreed at the time, to let me read the magic books here as I pleased. What on earth do you want? I've already successfully channeled magic like you said last time. Hurry and check it for me that night. Valerian stood in his room with a serious expression. I heard you were looking for me. You're here. Come, let's sit down and talk. How has my sister Dirla been lately? She has made great progress, but to learn alien magic will still take some time. I see, probably next week. Mother will return from the social circle, I must tell you in advance. She is not someone who is easily fooled. Although the people in the mansion are very nice now, nobles generally do not like commoners occupying key positions. You should be well aware of this, Derek. I will keep that in mind. Did you call me over? Just to say this. I am the next head of the Dupline family. The head's duty is to care for and accommodate family members. So I must treat every member with sincerity. What a difficult job this is. And how unpredictable people's hearts are. If only everyone's thoughts and values could be the same. How wonderful that would be. Unfortunately, reality is not like that. So, what exactly do you want to say to me, Dirla? My dearest sister. She doesn't play with me anymore. Hearing these words from Valerian, Derek was truly speechless. Do you know, Derek, when we were kids, the way she greeted me with a smile seems as vivid as if it were yesterday. Is there anyone in this world more like an angel than her? So Derek, do you have a way? A way to make Dirla happy? This kind of question. Why ask me? Doesn't Diela like following you around? Just like Valerian said, Diela is looking everywhere for Derek's trace. Why don't you help me take a look at this? How about this doll I learned to make from the maid? Doesn't it look exactly like the cute Diela? Will it make her feel her brother's love for her? Forgive my rudeness, Mr. Valerian, but are you trying to curse her with this thing? Derek, are you completely useless? 1 week later, the Duchess returned. I've heard a lot about you. They say, a very capable magic teacher has been hired. It is a pleasure to meet you. I am Miriella de Belduprain, if you don't mind. I hope to send some gifts to the territory you belong to. I do not belong to any family. Hearing this, Miriella was stunned. I don't have a territory or family. I am just a commoner. Miriella simply couldn't believe it. The capable magic teacher they spoke of was actually a commoner. The moment she found out, Miriella rushed into the Grand Duke's study. You actually let a commoner be Diela's teacher. What on earth is going on? My ears are fine. Can't you lower your voice? That is not the issue right now, it's Diela. Our lovely little daughter, Miriella. You also know that I don't like hiring commoners, but those teachers of noble blood have all given up. Even so, we still can't let a mercenary who struggled on the streets teach her. Finding a magic teacher is not an easy task. And Derek was recommended by Asarin. Even if that's the case, there should at least be a minimum standard. Wouldn't it be fine if you invited your brother? Last time he made an excuse that he was busy, but it's different now. Diela has already awakened her magic power. You're hiring a defense force member who guards the outskirts as a tutor. Do you think managing and running a territory is a simple matter? Yet you hired someone with no reputation. And no family, a commoner. Do you want Diela, after entering the social circle, to become a laughingstock? At this moment Valerian also came in. Mother, please calm down a bit. You didn't come to argue with father, did you? Step down. Valerian, this matter cannot just be let go. Whether that commoner magician is qualified to be Diela's magic teacher. That is the key to the problem. Isn't that right? The moment Mother saw Reg, a look of relief appeared in Miriella's eyes. Hush, for a commoner to become a magic teacher for a noble. This is no ordinary situation. If that commoner indeed has the qualifications, I don't think it's a big problem, father. I am willing to test that Derek's talent. If I can win against him in a magic duel, forget it. From a magician's perspective, he is indeed very strong. The moment he heard this, Reg fell silent. Then let me go try. How about Diela? Valerian finally realized that Reg seemed to be targeting his sister. If Derek is truly an excellent teacher, then Diela as his student should have achieved good results too, right? I am willing to engage in a magic duel with Diela to determine his qualifications as a teacher. After some hesitation, the Grand Duke still agreed to Reg's proposal. After the two of them left the study, Valerian immediately caught up with Reg, who had left first. What on earth are you thinking? Why have a magic duel with Diela, brother? Do you really believe Diela has turned over a new leaf? Have you forgotten what she did before? But no matter what, she is still your only sister, a blood relative we need to tolerate. But that blood relative you speak of will ruin our family. Isn't what she did in the past enough proof? If she is allowed into social circles, that will be the real end. Is that really what you think, Reg? The one who crossed the line first was Diela. She should be locked up in the villa forever. On one side is his younger brother. On the other side is his younger sister. Valerian didn't know how to handle this matter either. Shortly after, Diela, having learned the news, went to find Derek, hurrying like this so early in the morning. What happened this time? Diela did not answer. She just threw a document in front of Derek. If I lose in this sparring match, you will be fired. I've already heard. Master Reg is already a mature, honest star magician. This sparring match will be very difficult. Is that all you have to say? If I lose, you will be fired. I am a mercenary. As long as I complete the commissioned work and receive the corresponding reward, that's enough. And up until now, the rewards I've received are already more than enough. The moment she heard this, Diela was stunned. Are you serious? A week passed in the blink of an eye. Soon the day of Diela and Reg's sparring match arrived, except for Atheline, who was not at the mansion. Almost everyone from the Dupline family was present. Eve arrived. Upon seeing the Grand Duke, Derek just bowed to him as usual. Looking at Derek's demeanor, one could tell he wasn't nervous at all. The Grand Duke couldn't help but speculate. He is very confident in the Grand Duke's eyes. For Derek to maintain his composure under such circumstances, dismissing him too early, did not seem to be a good choice. No one knew that in Reg's heart, this was not an ordinary sparring match. He wanted to use this opportunity to completely ruin Diela. Reg silently swore in his heart to make Diela regret everything she had done in the past. Meanwhile, Diella, participating in a sparring match for the first time, had an unusually firm gaze. Time went back to that afternoon of her conversation with Derek. Is it possible that besides this, you don't care about anything else? My lady, you should have felt it too. Your mana growth has already gotten on the right track. Although you cannot use Onistar magic immediately, it should be possible after some time. After all, my lady has the bloodline of Dukeline. Why say these things all of a sudden? I told you before, the Wild Faction is originally a school suitable for self-study. Hearing these words, Diella was so anxious she cried, so what? Why are you telling me this, Derek? I also know, I am not an excellent student, but I still hope to continue learning magic from you. I don't want anyone else to teach me, let me tell you in advance. I don't understand the magic between nobles, the etiquette and rules of sparring, nor have I experienced them, but I can tell you how to win in a fight. Do you want to win? At that moment, Diella remembered the words she had heard before. How could someone like this appear in the Dukeline family, even though both brother and sister are very strong? It seems the Duplain family is also heading towards decline. Thinking of those words, Dearla's eyes became determined. I want to win. I must win. Dearla did not come here as Reg's younger sister. She is here as Derek's student, and at the same time a mage, standing here. It's starting. The magic spar between Dearla and Reg has finally begun. Reg looked at Dearla, stepping onto the stage, feeling a subtle sense of incongruity. Could she really have come with a determination to win? Just as the two locked eyes, DeLong's voice came from the side. Please prepare for the sparring both sides. The sparring will use the advanced mage sparring rules of the Kale Flame Salon. General Pelham's protection array. The first side to activate it will be deemed the loser. A reminder once again. Please prepare both sides. It seems they have too much money, with nowhere to spend it. The duration of that thing is 10 minutes. It seems Reg intends to end the battle before then. Reg is unwilling to accept a draw, so he takes this sparring very seriously. At the moment the sparring began, he immediately gathered mana in his hand and began to chant. However, while Reg was preparing his magic, Dearla still stood quietly in place, staring intently at his magic. One of the keys to sparring is chanting speed. When fighting at a long distance, completing it first, the chanter often holds the advantage. And to deal with an opponent like Dearla, only a single OnStar magic is enough. I'm sorry, but you must return to that villa. At the instant the chanting was completed, the OnStar magic sharp blade rushed towards Dearla. In Reg's eyes, the slow-moving Dearla would absolutely be unable to dodge this attack. Reg could even already imagine the sharp blade triggering the protection magic, and then Dearla being sent back to the villa, but Reg did not notice the determined look in the eyes of Dearla, whom he regarded as the family's bane. Right at this moment Dearla lowered her posture, and rushed out to the side. This was a rare agile movement from Dearla. Without a doubt, the change shown by Dearla was clearly far beyond Reg's expectations. Don't think of escaping. Reg gritted his teeth and pushed his mana, altering the trajectory of the sharp blade. The sharp blade flew towards Dearla once again. In Reg's eyes, a girl who had been locked in a villa for a long time must have physical strength inferior to ordinary people. But if Reg could see Dearla's current expression, he would definitely change his mind. Furthermore, although Reg could proficiently use on star magic, he was still essentially a combat rookie. Forcibly changing the trajectory of magic like this would only make him consume more mana. Just when Reg thought Dearla could not dodge it, an ice wall rising from the ground blocked the rushing sharp blade. Logically speaking, this kind of basic ice wall generated solely by mana could not possibly withstand the power of OnStar magic, but because Reg forcibly changed the sharp blade's trajectory, its power had already been greatly weakened. However, Reg still did not believe that Dearla could continue to use such small tricks to block his attacks. Reg stood in place and chanted magic once again. This time he intended to fire his best spell, Sharp Blade, 3 times in a row. Miss Dearla. Mercenaries' combat skills are different from nobles. They do not regard winning fair and square as beautiful, but rather focus on winning. This matter itself may be different from general noble magic sparring. Even if you win, you might still get scolded. But even so, he can still bring you a victorious outcome. Do you really want to learn? Of course I do. This time I must win. I will definitely win. Back to the present. Diella began to use what Derek had taught him to analyze the situation in front of him. Diella immediately mobilized his magic power and created a few more ice pillars, then began to run and weave between the ice pillars that could be used as cover. Although Reg's strength was far above Diella's, he still remembered Derek's lesson to him. Despite the difference in strength among mercenaries, there is still a possibility of winning, because what those people do is not sparring, but combat. And just as Derek expected, Reg was just a combat novice. He kept forcing changes to the trajectory of the blades, consuming a lot of magic power in this way. The speed and power of the blades compared to normal OnStar magic had a huge gap. Only then could Diella barely dodge these attacks. Derek once said, combat requires adjusting the battlefield and utilizing every available advantage. In other words, to use any means necessary to win. Similarly, making the opponent let their guard down is also a factor that can be utilized. After confirming he couldn't dodge the blade, Diella again used magic to create an ice wall to block the attack. But because he had only recently awakened his magic power, such high-intensity combat was already a bit too much for Diella to handle. And it was at this moment that Reg's voice came again. The arena was completely covered in dust and smoke. No one could see the situation inside clearly now, because he believed Diella wouldn't be defeated so easily. But Miliera, who was also in the stands, was not so calm. Diella Delu, what are you still standing there for? Stop the sparring quickly, and bring Diella back just then. The Grand Duke spoke, go back and sit down. The sparring is not over yet, what are you saying? You saw it too, right? Diallo was hit by magic. He wasn't hit, was he? General Pelham's protection magic circle did not activate. Actually, besides the situation on the arena, the Grand Duke was also paying attention to one person, and that was Derek, who was sitting aside watching the battle. The Grand Duke had been watching his reaction from beginning to end. Derek didn't even blink. Could it be that everything happening now was already anticipated by him on the other side? Reg, who hadn't seen the sparring end for a long time, also walked into the dust and smoke. Logically speaking, Diallo had already been hit by the blade, but the protection magic circle did not activate. So where on earth did Diallo go? And it was at this moment that Reg saw a familiar figure in the gap beneath the arena. But before he could react, the wooden boards by his feet made a creaking sound, and in an instant, ice pillars rose from beneath the arena. Reg was also startled by this unexpected attack. Fortunately, his reaction was quick, and only had his cloak pierced by the ice pillar. But Reg really couldn't believe that Diallo would actually hide beneath the arena to launch an attack on him. You see, according to what Delon had said before, if one leaves the boundary of the arena, they would be directly ruled as defeated. But looking at Delon's expression, one could tell that Diallo's current behavior was not a violation. But in previous noble sparring matches, a fighting style this crude had never appeared before. Just as Reg was thinking this, the wooden boards beneath his feet creaked again. Although he looked a bit disheveled, Reg still successfully dodged the suddenly appearing icicle. But this was far from over in almost an instant. By Reg's side, 3 icicles suddenly shot up without a doubt. Those icicles thrusting out from beneath the stone stage were clearly targeting Reg. This attack was not only invisible, but also hard to predict the location of, and even a single hit would mean his defeat. On Direla's body, not a single trace of noble demeanor could be found, and it was at this moment that Reg finally found Direla hiding beneath the performance stage. Until this moment, did he finally see Direla's eyes clearly. No hint of emotional fluctuation could be detected in those eyes. Without a doubt, these were not the eyes Direla should have. But Reg felt like he had seen them somewhere before. Soon, Reg thought of the answer. Those were the eyes of the mercenary who, even when grabbed by the collar by Valerian, did not show the slightest change in emotion. Only then did Reg realize that the tactics Direla was displaying were undoubtedly influenced by that magic teacher. Since he had learned the truth of the matter, there was no need for Reg to keep putting on noble airs. Without the slightest hesitation, he ripped off the cloak behind him. Since Direla had completely abandoned the etiquette of noble sparring and acted only for victory, then he also had to adopt a corresponding stance. Because of Direla, Regs also abandoned his usual noble demeanor. What is all this? How could he go under the performance stage? It's full of dust in there, dear. What are you doing? Stop them quickly. Direla did not break the rules. Let's finish watching the spar first. Grand Duke Duplain had often frequented battlefields in his youth, so there wasn't a single trace of surprise on his face. He just rested his chin on his hand, quietly looking down at the spar. Meanwhile, Direla, hiding under the performance stage, was not attacking blindly. He was carefully observing the changes on the stage. To be precise, he was observing the flow of mana. Once Reg started chanting magic, Direla could find his location through the flow of mana. In this way, Reg would either have to interrupt his chanting to dodge or... Direla also discovered that the flow of mana on the field had disappeared. He realized Reg might have some scheme, but no matter what Reg wanted to do, Direla only needed to keep interrupting his chanting. Seeing Reg's change, Delon couldn't help but be somewhat surprised, because at this moment Reg had surprisingly climbed up the flagpole hanging the Duplain family crest. At this position, Direla would definitely not be able to detect his chanting, but similarly, Reg could not properly complete his chanting now either. So the only solution was to completely smash the performance stage, leaving Direla with nowhere to hide without the slightest hesitation. Reg activated a mana sword and shot it at the bottom of the flagpole. Under the effect of this strike, the flagpole hanging the family crest collapsed, and Reg took this opportunity to jump on top of the flagpole. His purpose was very simple. While the flagpole smashed the performance stage, to get himself under the performance stage as well. Seeing this scene, Miliela was also stunned. She didn't expect her proud son to do such a thing. But at this moment, Reg, how could he care about others' opinions anymore? The moment he entered the arena, he started looking around for Durla's trace, and soon, he spotted in the dust a running figure without any hesitation. Reg immediately launched a magic arrow. The moment the magic arrow flew towards her, Durla also sensed the surrounding magic fluctuations. Without any hesitation, she immediately channeled her magic, preparing to create ice pillars. But Durla soon realized her magic was no longer enough to cast spells, so she had to find a way to recover her magic while running. Fortunately, due to the excessive dust around, Reg's magic arrow went slightly off course, but to Reg's surprise, Durla was actually actively approaching him. At that moment, Reg once again saw murderous intent in this girl's eyes. It was something he had seen countless times in his childhood, a killer instinct that would stop at nothing to achieve its goal. Because this kick landed right on his chest, Reg had some difficulty breathing for a moment, but what he didn't expect was yet to come. Durla actually grabbed a handful of dirt with her hand and threw it straight at his eyes. Although he detected Durla's intention immediately, but Reg still gave her an opening, and Durla seized the opportunity, using the flagpole to climb back onto the stone arena. However, Durla's actions also made Reg realize that her magic was completely depleted. It wasn't hard for Reg to read her will from her appearance. I want to win, even if I have to use any means necessary, wanting to prove her worth through victory. Durla's actions completely ignited Reg's fighting spirit, but not as an opponent, but as Durla's brother. By the time Reg climbed back onto the arena, Durla was standing not far away, watching him quietly. She was covered in blood, but her eyes were exceptionally fierce at this moment. Durla remembered what Derek had taught her that night. Please imagine the city is painting with a brush, magic is the paint. Incantations are the brush. Use the brush to gather the scattered paint into a painting, and that is magic under the night sky. The white-haired youth born as a mercenary said so. The girl's eyes filled with the starry sky gazed at the world, and the idea of painting it was born. The starry sky of that night, the magic flowing in the air, and the white-haired youth beside her. She wanted to paint all of it. The moment she closed her eyes, the scene of that night reappeared before Durla's eyes. The girl squeezed out the last bit of magic in her body, imagining painting on a huge canvas with her fingertips. Unconsciously, the magic in the air began to respond to the girl's call. Magic lingered around her fingertips. Feeling the chill around her, Durla's first work was about to be born. The instant the girl opened her eyes, she cast her first OnStar magic. An ice spear emitting a bone-chilling cold appeared beside Durla. It was indeed the OnStar magic ice spear. Seeing this, DeLong was clearly startled. My dear, look quickly, it's OnStar magic. Durla used OnStar magic, the OnStar magic ice spear. Have you finally done it, Durla? The moment the ice spear appeared, no one around wanted to stop this duel anymore. And Reg also swore in his heart to show the greatest respect to his sister. Without any hesitation, Reg immediately created several magic swords, although Durla used OnStar magic, but Reg believed that the result would not change at all. At the exact moment the ice spear fully formed, Durla immediately propelled the ice spear, shooting it towards Reg at almost the same time. Regs also fired all the magic swords around him. The two OnStar spells triggered an explosion in the middle of the stone arena. Smoke and dust once again filled the entire arena. At that moment, Miliera's heart was filled with worry for her youngest daughter. As the smoke gradually cleared, a defensive barrier appeared in the arena, signaling the end of the spar. Whether it was Durla or Reg, both had given their all in this spar. This spar, which would decide whether Derek stays or leaves, was about to reveal the answer as the smoke cleared. This magic spar, which would decide whether Derek stays or leaves, finally revealed the answer as the smoke cleared. And the one who deployed the defensive barrier was actually Durla's side. Even though he had given it his all and used every means, he still lost. Casting OnStar magic for the first time, due to physical exhaustion and depleted mana, he missed Reg with the ice spear. Seeing this scene, Derek didn't say anything either, only lowering his head in silence after a moment. Durla, deeply devastated by the defeat, began to shed large heavy tears. Throughout the spar, whether it was Durla or Reg, both of their performances greatly satisfied Grand Duke Duprain. My dear, look at this. What does this look like? Can a fight with so little grace even be called a magic spar? Grand Duke Duprain did not answer, only silently watching Durla in the center of the arena. I can't watch this any longer. For that so-called magic teacher to actually teach our Durla such things as expected should never have been made accessible to commoners. Our lovely little daughter Raymond Oswald Duprain still remembered riding through battlefields since childhood. On the road to becoming the Grand Duke, Raymond had seen far too many people, and almost all of those nobles shared one thing in common, which was that they all had a pair of shining eyes. But not everyone was like that. When a person suffers setbacks and failures from childhood, their eyes become hollow. He remembered the young girl who, after countless setbacks, locked herself in the villa, staring at the wall with hollow eyes. Grand Duke Duprain had no way to help his daughter, so he could only tolerate and accommodate Durla as much as possible. He hoped time would heal the pain in the girl's heart, hoping that those eyes would one day shine with brilliance again. He had always firmly believed, and waited for Durla to find her own path. For parents with lost children, all they can do is just this. In this spar, where the whole world predicted her failure, she wanted to win by any means necessary. In her eyes, which were raining tears due to the unwillingness to accept defeat, burned a fierce desire to win and a flame wishing to be acknowledged. Miss Durla, excuse me. Well, you need to receive treatment as soon as possible. But the girl did not answer, only silently brushing away the maid's outstretched hand. After barely managing to stand steady, Durla, staggering, walked step by step towards Reg. Resentment still lingered in her still swollen eyes. Reg looked down at the disheveled Durla, somewhat at a loss for words for a moment. This was originally just a ceremonial magic spar between nobles, yet it turned out like this. Thank you for your hard work, Durla. However, the girl did not respond, only silently bowing her head to Reg. Then he stepped forward and brushed past her. After passing Reg, the maids gathered around again. It'll take you to the inner room. You need to receive treatment first. However, Durla still didn't respond. She just stubbornly kept her head down and walked forward. In the end, she stepped down from the dueling stage. She stopped in front of Derek. Derek didn't say anything. He just silently raised his head and looked at his disciple. In fact, Durla also knew, as a noble woman, she shouldn't be crying in front of a commoner. But in that moment, all the grievances and frustration in her heart surged up in the young girl's heart. I lost him, sorry. In the girl's heart, there were 1,000 things she wanted to say on the tip of her tongue, yet they turned into these brief 6 words. Of course, Derek also understood. For Durla to get this far was already very good. It's okay. It's okay, even if you lost. Failure runs through our entire lives, but that's what life is. Only by letting go of your current win or loss can you become stronger. Derek was usually silent and strict in management, so every word he said carried great weight for Durla. Hearing these words, perhaps the emotional dam she had forced shut finally collapsed. Choking up, the girl let hot tears fall. Amid the maids who wanted to hurry and take her for treatment, she just stood there and cried, over and over again. And just then, the Duchess Miriella came down from the stands. Durla. After coming down from the stands, Miriella jogged all the way to stand in front of Durla. Durla, our precious daughter. How did you end up like this during this time? You must have had a really hard time, right? It's okay now, Mom's here. Everything's fine now, go, get treatment quickly. Trust Mom. Mom will help you take care of everything. And with that, Miriella, in tears, watched Durla being taken away by the maids. Then her gaze shifted, locking onto the white-haired mercenary standing not far away. Miriella didn't bother to hide the anger in her heart. She strode toward Derek in front of her. Derek hurriedly turned around to look. What he saw was Miriella's face full of fury. You despicable man. Do you even know what you've done? Just because you taught one foreign star magic, you think you're so impressive. Without the slightest hesitation, Muriella immediately slapped Derek across the face. You self-righteous fool. You actually taught those vulgar tricks of the commoners to our pure and flawless precious daughter. After Muriella finished speaking, she gave him another slap, right across his face. There is a world out there that a lowborn like you can't comprehend. A world that values etiquette and composure, that demonstrates strength through proper magic duels, and uses authority to protect the values that should be upheld. Dear, you saw it too, didn't you? This kind of thing simply doesn't count as a magic duel at all. Yet he actually taught our Dilra that sort of thing. What happened next was enough to leave everyone present in shock. Muriella's cheek was suddenly knocked to one side, and only then did she realize that she had just been slapped. Don't you know, in this situation right now, who's actually behaving the most frivolously? What on earth are you talking about? Hez just a commoner, you're right. He is indeed an insignificant commoner. But he is also our daughter's magic teacher. What parents in this world would treat their daughter's teacher like that? Everyone has their own way of loving their child. I hope you can forgive him. Being treated like this by Grand Duke Duplain, even the usually calm Derek was a bit lost. It's okay. Now next, there are some things we need to discuss in private. Please follow me to the drawing room. Seeing such a scene, even Muriella was stunned in place. He really couldn't believe that Grand Duke Duplain would slap himself in the face for a commoner. After arriving at the drawing room, Grand Duke Duplain spared no praise for Derek. Dirla has been raised very well, as the master of the mansion. I must give you the reward you deserve. That is the highest level allowed for a commoner. Do you want to become a 3-star mage? The moment he heard this, Derek froze without a doubt. Grand Duke Duplain pointed out what Derek wanted most. He saw through it more calmly than anyone else. In order to keep Derek in the Duke's mansion, what needed to be done as a wandering mercenary? Derek naturally understood. When the opportunity comes, you must seize it. Yes, I want to. Going back to not long ago, you let Dirla master on-star magic. You did this very well. But in the social circles of Elbest, this achievement alone is not enough. In the Duplain family, there are many people who can guide Lady Dirla. Since she has already mastered magic, she will definitely continue to grow. You are right. But my daughter doesn't need a magic teacher, but a magic mentor. My eyes are never wrong. You, though a commoner, harbor grand ambitions that you aren't even allowed to dream of. You should know how much of an offense this is in the eyes of those proud nobles. But, given your achievements, I can turn a blind eye to this. Just as the Grand Duke said, Derek's goal was not 3 stars, but dreaming of reaching a realm of 4 stars or above. He saw through all of this with just his eyes. This is what makes him terrifying. Since you have such ambitions, I believe you won't stay in such a noble family for long. Actually, I've known for a long time that you are already prepared to leave Elbest. You are right. It's not that I don't understand your ambition and aspiration, but I still hope you can teach Dirla for a bit longer. So to keep Derek the Grand Duke, allowed him to freely read the Duplain family's 3-star magic books. Not long after, Derek came to the underground library where the magic books were stored. Among those magic books, Derek casually pulled out one of them. On what seemed to be a piece of extremely fragile paper, closely packed engraved words, were all unfamiliar phrases without a doubt. These were worthy of the name. 3-star magic books, you see? Even a 2-star magic book is something only quite wealthy people can own. Yet on the shelves here, surprisingly without exception, they were all 3-star magic books. The library of one of the top 3 Grand Dukes in the west of the continent was indeed extraordinary. Just these books alone were enough to be the reason for Derek to stay here. However, if Perroni, who hates nobles, found out about this, it would probably be trouble. Just like that, a few days passed, and Dirla's injuries had basically healed. I am now a on-star mage. You can only use on-star magic. You can't be called a on-star mage yet. How can you say that? Your disciple has achieved something like this. Shouldn't you be happy? Of course, I'm genuinely happy for you from the bottom of my heart. But you know it really wasn't easy. You look like you've recovered really well. Back then when the sparring ended, you were clearly crying so hard. I wasn't crying. It was just that there was too much dust inside, and the dust got into my eyes. And father should have told me earlier. I even thought you were going to get kicked out. Then let's start class, because you've grown so fast. Other alien star magic should be easy for you to learn. Hearing that, Dilla came over beaming. What did you just say was fast? I said your growth rate, your mana. You could use alien star magic not long after awakening. That's really not common, I told you already. I'm someone who keeps his word. So what are we going to learn next? Mana, sword, or blade? Redger used both of those before. They look super awesome, but my ice lance is really strong too. If I train it a bit more, maybe it'll even be able to hit Brother Rieger. We're going to learn mana manifestation. Why weren't we going to learn on-star magic? There are many reasons, but anyway, the basics are the most important to explain in detail. It all comes down to mana, I get it. Then let's begin since you put it that way. Well, it can't be helped then. I thought we were going to learn on-star magic. I got excited for nothing. While Dilla was talking, she kept sneaking glances at Derek with those big eyes, only to find Derek staring right back at her. Why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on my face? No, it's just, you being so obedient feels a bit strange to me. What kind of person do you take me for? Haven't I respected your opinions from the start? That's because the first time we met, you poured dirty water on my head. And you did it twice too. You actually still remember that. It was pretty unforgettable after all. The weather's really nice today. Mana manifestation is definitely going to be fun. I really want to hurry up and practice this fun mana manifestation. Seeing the girl so flustered, Derek could only sigh helplessly, and just like that, the lesson went on until evening. Dilla was so tired she was lying on the ground. The magic lessons will continue as usual afterward, and I heard you'll be very busy from now on. Seeing Derek walk over, Dilla hurriedly sat up straight. So, you heard about that too. Starting next week, I'll also have general education classes. They say it's to prepare me for entering high society. Isn't that a good thing? Since you've already mastered one heart magic, you can now take proper noble courses. It's not good at all. Basic nobility, etiquette, foreign languages, geography, history, botany, piano. I really don't get why I have to learn all that. How did Sister Aisling manage to get through all of it? That's why she's called the flower of Duke Brain, the central figure of the Elbest social scene. I just want to focus on learning magic. If you want to study, then study. Since the Grand Duke hired me, I've got plenty of time, really. Do you really have that much time at this point? Is there even anyone who can kick you out? Of course there is. Even if father has accepted you, mother definitely won't let this slide so easily. And why does my lady want to drive me away? Needless to say, if I learn from you, will I drift further and further away from noble taste? He is afraid that in the end I will become just like a mercenary, just looking at this match. It is far from the taste pursued by the nobles, isn't it? Maybe he will find an excuse to kick you out. That's no big deal, Lady Dearla. Shutting the madam's mouth is actually much easier than imagined, as long as she can't find a reason. After all, the control over all of this, isn't it still in Lady Dearla's hands? Early the next morning, Muriella paced around the Duke's mansion with anxiety. It turned out that in her heart, Derek was completely an unpardonable mercenary. She fantasized every day, Derek teaching Dearla those methods that only mercenaries would use. She even thought of the day Dearla would enter the social circle carrying a wild boar. At the thought of Dearla becoming another Derek, Muriella couldn't stop her headache. She couldn't let the lovely Dearla become like this. Even if her husband accepted Derek's presence, it was still a no. While sorting out her thoughts, Muriella walked towards the mansion gate, determined that no matter what, she must find a way to solve this problem. However, when she opened the door, she found the daughter she longed for day and night was actually right in front of her mother Dearla. How could she refuse her lovely daughter? However, to her surprise, her darling daughter didn't cry and run to her. Last night, did you sleep peacefully, mother? Dearla didn't throw herself into her arms as usual, but instead gracefully lifted both sides of her skirt and bowed with lowered hands. At that moment, Ella could hardly believe her eyes, due to recovering from injuries and staying in the annex for long. It is a pity that I could not come to greet you often. I wish to have a good talk with you, but unfortunately, there is a piano lesson in the morning. Hearing this, Muriella subconsciously adopted a noble posture. So that's how it is, the etiquette lessons are tightly scheduled. Please excuse my rudeness, Dearla said, bowing slightly, and took her leave. Dearla, hasn't your etiquette class not started yet? Isn't that starting next week? Yes, mother. Thank you for your concern, mother. I am very much looking forward to it. At that moment, Muriella seemed to see the shadow of Atheline in Dearla. Such a transformation made her stutter a bit. Well then, go ahead quickly, don't be late. Just as Dearla passed by a maid, the wooden board she was holding suddenly fell to the ground. The boards fell to the ground. Be careful not to get hurt. Don't push yourself too hard. At that moment, the maid felt as if she had seen the most terrifying thing in her life. Yes, Lady Dearla, outside the north wall of Elbest is the noble district where the nobles gather. Recently, a smile has bloomed on Atheline's face again. Until the last gathering, she was still frowning, which made me worry for a long time. Was it really that obvious I didn't want to worry you? However, most of those troubling matters have been resolved. So I feel much lighter. That's wonderful. I heard that Lady Atheline often goes outside the noble district to help others. I was really worried. The speaker was Elend, the second daughter of Count Vermilde. Thank you for your concern, Lady Elend. Actually, it's because my sister Dearla needs a magic teacher, since I went to find one in person. That's why I've been a bit busy. Hearing this, Arent couldn't help but be a little surprised. A magic teacher that Ethelyn went to find in person. What an amazing person that must be. Are you talking about your younger sister, Miss Dilra? The one speaking this time was indeed Denise, the second daughter of the Burgess family. Not long ago I saw Dilra at the mansion. She is like a completely different person now. She looks just like a graceful young lady. I heard she can even cast honest star magic, so dignified that it makes me feel inferior. I feel like I should work twice as hard too. Denise was a bit curious. Why would Ethelyn bring up her younger sister? After all, nothing about Dilra had ever been heard from the Dupline family before. Did you find a great magic teacher? Yes. Although her background is not prominent, but her ability to teach is outstanding. Going to the Beldron mercenary group in person to recruit her last time was truly worth it. The moment they heard the word mercenary, both Denise and Arent were deeply shocked in their hearts. Arent suddenly thought of something. The current head chef of the Belmert family was driven away from the Dupline family by Dilra. It is said that the reason he was driven away was simply because he made a soup too hot. A troublemaker like her has not only turned over a new leaf now, but has also transformed into an OnStar mage. At that moment, Arent became extremely interested in the magic teacher Ethelyn mentioned. Miss Ethelyn, could you tell me the name of that magic teacher? If they are Miss Dilra's teacher, they will surely become even more famous in the future. I want to know his name in advance. So, that's how it is. That teacher's name is Derek. Meanwhile, although Derek only knew a little bit of noble etiquette, he still taught me a lot. If I had only self-studied, it would indeed have been too difficult. So you self-studied noble etiquette. That is truly admirable. There were parts I self-studied, but most of it was taught to me by Derek. Did you encounter any difficulties during your self-study? Most of it was very difficult. It was all thanks to Derek that I could manage to this extent. I see. After the conversation just now, Miliera's mind was now completely filled with the name Derek. She really couldn't accept that her precious daughter in every few sentences could not leave out that commoner's name. Miliera didn't understand what exactly Derek had done to her precious daughter, but she knew very well that she could not just let this go. She could even imagine what would happen next. Miss Dilra has been very kind to the servants lately. She has become very gentle. Miss Dilra seems to be in a particularly good mood lately. To have such a big change in just a few weeks is truly surprising. This kind of demeanor could previously only be seen in Miss Ethelyn. You are becoming a true lady. Now Miss Dilra also looks like a noble. This is all thanks to Mr. Derek. Miliera swore to change all of this. Time flew by. Derek was studying 3-star magic on his own, but despite his excellent talent, this time he encountered a significant obstacle in his learning process. Between him and a 3-star mage, there seemed to be only a mysterious subtle threshold. It turned out that these books were all magic summarized by the regular faction, while Derek, as a wild faction mage, even more one needs to learn in battle. Just at this moment, Legger's voice came from behind him. I'm really sorry. I hope I didn't disturb you while you were training. It's fine. Did you come here for something? This was lent to me by the Grand Duke. Hearing that it was given to Derek by his own father, Ledger was also clearly stunned for a moment, although there's no way to reach that realm for now. There's no harm in learning it in advance. Ledger suddenly thought of when he wanted to challenge Derek. His father had stopped him thinking of this. He couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. You really are amazing. By the way, what did you come here for regarding the young lady? Well, actually it's, how should I put it? Do you know what teenage girls like? Looking at Ledger, one could tell. He was probably going to apologize to Diala, for example, embroidery or something like that. Or making a doll that looks just like her. Do you think she would like it at that moment? Derek thought of the doll made by Valerian. That kind of thing is absolutely out of the question. Derek rejected Ledger's proposal with a serious face. Actually, I thought so too. And I didn't say I would make it myself. I also thought about it myself. This is indeed not very good. It's about time to go back right. If you're done training. On the way back to the mansion, Ledger slowly calmed his emotions. In any case, I'm really grateful to you. The atmosphere at home has been very good lately. Brother Valerian is also focusing on handling the territory's affairs. Although father didn't show it. He seems very satisfied. Is that so? The Grand Duke's mind is truly hard to read. On this point, everyone in this mansion would probably deeply agree. I should also accept the parts that need to be accepted. People can change, especially children at that age. Even more so, actually, I don't know either. Whether I just never noticed or if I always deliberately avoided this matter, but since Diala has changed, then I also want to try to change myself. All of this is thanks to you, Derek. Thank you so much. Hearing this, Derek just silently lowered his head. But then again, Diala's magic. Nobles are nobles after all. In terms of mana perception, they are born with an insurmountable gap compared to commoners. You are right. Lady Diala uses a wild style of mana utilization. The wild style, I've heard a bit about it before. Perhaps once she reaches a certain level, even if I no longer teach her anything, she will be able to study it on her own. And if it really comes to that point, a teacher's intervention would instead become an obstacle to her growth. I see reaching a certain level, there will always be a day to see the light before we knew it. 2 months have already passed since Diala changed. Why is there floral clay here? Now even on-star magic, she can already use freely and with the servants. She has also gotten much closer during that time before. I missed out on too many things. All of this is thanks to Derek. I was wondering today why you seem to be in such a good mood. It turns out it's the day of the magic lesson. Do I look like him in a good mood? Do I need to fold these flowers beautifully for you? Just give me one of the remaining flowers. I want to bring it to Derek. However, before long, the flower meant for Derek dropped heavily to the ground. The young girl, who was full of anticipation, was struck by a piece of sudden news. The girl's eyes were already filled with tears. What does that mean, Derek? Standing next to Derek was Valerian, who was supposed to be handling territory affairs. Just as you have heard. Given the young lady's current situation, I have nothing left to teach you. The changing of the seasons has always been like this. There is no eternal winter, and naturally no eternal spring. It's over, it's over. Dearla's magic lessons are finally coming to an end. Presumably, His Grace the Grand Duke has already noticed that Miss Dearla belongs to the Wild School, and has a very rich personal style. If I continue to intervene, it would instead break those wings now. I also have no reason to keep you in this mansion. You are right. After a brief silence, the Grand Duke finally stood up from his seat. Thanks to you, many things have changed. And, thanks to you, my daughter was able to grow. I was solely focused on handling those territory affairs, and failed to fulfill my duties as a father. Now I can finally rest assured. When do you plan to leave? I heard that Miss Atheline will visit the mansion soon, and then return to Elbest. I plan to leave in her carriage, I see. Please return the library key now. Alright. I will return the magic book I am currently reading to its place. And then return the key through the butler. No need for such trouble, just return it now. Derek quickly understood the Grand Duke's meaning. His eyes then drifted to the magic book at his waist. If there is nothing else, you may leave. The Grand Duke's meaning was very simple. The 3-star magic book at his waist was a gift for Derek. The two of them tacitly left it unsaid. After bowing to the Grand Duke, Derek left the study. In the corridor outside the study, Dearla had been waiting there silently. Your sudden appearance, and now suddenly saying you're leaving, Miss Dearla. Derek didn't know how long Dearla had been waiting here. What else could I do? I know you won't listen, but I still have to ask, do you really have to go? Can't you stay? Hearing Dearla's urgent plea, Derek fell silent for a moment. I will go back to being a mercenary as usual, and will also continue to study magic hard, as long as Miss Dearla works hard to improve her strength, and makes her debut in social circles in the future. Want you also come to Elbest? We can just meet again then. When my level increases a bit more, I'll be able to teach you new things then. You really are annoying. You always leave me speechless on this night. Dearla had that nightmare again after a long time. Those harsh voices that had disappeared with Derek's arrival, and those malicious smiles, had found Dearla once again. Even though Dearla had already become an on-star mage, and even though she now looked like a proper noble, she was still at a loss, just like a child, just like before Derek appeared. Dearla was woken up by the nightmare once again. She sat up in bed drenched in cold sweat. The moonlight shone through the fluttering curtains, spilling into the dark room, so it was a dream. Dearla gasped heavily. wanting to escape the feeling from her dream as soon as possible. Miss, are you okay hearing the scream just now? The maid rushed in immediately. I heard a loud noise just now. Did something happen? The moment she saw the maid, a thought suddenly came to Dearla's mind. Derek was leaving because he had no reason to stay here. But if she, just like before, messed everything up. Dearla remembered very clearly. Derek had once told her that the control of all this was in her own hands. Miss, are you okay? Are you feeling unwell somewhere? Seeing Dearla like this, the maid seemed very frightened. At this moment, Dearla was very hesitant. If she were to make a scene now, Derek would very likely stay. In the end, Dearla spoke, "It's fine, I'm okay." Because Dearla suddenly realized, if she made a scene, it would only be denying everything Derek had done. Even if Derek chose to leave, Dearla couldn't bring herself to make everything he did worthless. Time flew by, and the day of parting soon arrived. Get off at the entrance of Elbest, or at the commercial district. It would be more convenient in the commercial district. Thank you for taking care of me. Let's say our final goodbyes. We are about to leave. Hearing Asarin's words, Derek couldn't help but look back. Unlike when he first arrived, this time all the younger generation of the Duplain family came to see him off. Derek, are you really leaving now? I have to return to where I belong, right? Life at the mansion must not have been easy, right? Thank you for your hard work during this time. If anything happens, you must contact me. As long as it's within my power, I will help you. Thank you very much. After they nodded in greeting, Derek also bowed in return when he looked up. He looked toward the crowd. At the only person who hadn't spoken, Dearla raised her head slightly, staring Sundara-like at Derek in front of her. Why? Why are you looking at me like that? What? Do you think I would cry and scream, begging you not to go? Don't get me wrong. I'm not a child anymore. It was my honor to teach Miss Dearla. Although I can't have you proudly declare to the outside world that I am your teacher, at least I hope you can remember. The magic I taught you, I'm sorry, but I will proudly declare that you are my teacher, even if you want to live a low-profile life. I'm afraid you won't have a choice. After all, you are the teacher of the great Miss Dearla. Dearla. She thought Derek would respond, but Derek just looked at her silently. Because of this, Dearla felt even more uncomfortable in her heart. Don't go being a mercenary, and getting yourself hurt, it'll be fine. As for you, Miss Dearla, please take good care of yourself. There's nothing for me to worry about. I'm already an adult. I can take care of myself now. The moment he saw this, a memory from the past suddenly hit Derek. I'm already an adult. I can take care of myself now. When Kadia left, Derek had also said the exact same words, but instead of showing a look of relief, Kadia, on the contrary, with an even more worried expression, leaned down and hugged Derek tightly. At that time, Kadia whispered a very short sentence in Derek's ear, but back then Derek simply couldn't understand it. Now as the years have passed, he has his own disciple. Watching his disciple puff out her chest and declare that she has grown up, Derek finally understood that the young girl was still too young. The road ahead is long. There is still much magic in the world and in life's journey. She will experience even more confusion upon those waves of life. The figure of that little girl, who claimed to have grown up, is so precarious. Therefore, she wanted to pass the words her master gave her, intact, to her own disciple, Miss Dearla. You don't need to become an adult so early. Hearing these words, Dearla's pupils dilated instantly, and she then bit her lip. She was trying hard to suppress her emotions, perhaps ultimately unable to stop the tears from welling up. She just kept her red eyes open, blinking quietly. Realizing that time was running out, Dearla finally stopped hiding her inner emotions. Goodbye, Derek. The young girl let the tears flow from her eyes, waving goodbye to her mentor with a smile.